What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday to you. I hope everybody is doing fantastic out there, and your work week is starting off pretty good. Today is my Saturday, so my week is going great so far. Ask me again on Wednesday night, and I'll have a completely different tone about me. But anyway, hope everybody's staying cool. It is hotter than heck out here right now. It's what do we say? It's 92 degrees, feels like 96 with a humidity of almost 70%. It's sticky out. But hey, we're on the patio. We're having a good time. Everything is fun. So I want to remind you guys, on Saturday's show, I'm going to have Josh Hurd from Malvern Manor on here to talk about the manor and ghost hunting and everything. Krista will not be able to join us, but Brandy has graciously offered to step in for her, so we will have a blonde on there. So it'll be me and Brandy talking with Josh Hurd. So stay tuned for that. Saturday, I have no idea what the date is for Saturday at 7:00 Central Time. So, if you guys have any stories that you would like to share, please feel free to email me at paranormalamongus72@gmail.com. I like hearing those every now and then. Come out here on the patio and read a few of them for you guys. Had a few of them, and you know what? I accidentally deleted them. I pre-recorded one because I had to work on a Tuesday, so I pre-recorded them, and I completely lost it. So for some reason, it didn't upload, and the stories were gone, and I don't know what happened. Oh, well. Hey, Mickey Fisher is here. Pam is here. And other people might be lurking behind the scenes. So thank you guys for joining us. So before we get on with the show, we have a special guest backstage. You know what? Let's bring our special guest up right now. He's ready. Welcome, Fisherofspam, to the show. Hey, Fisher, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, everybody?
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invite. I got to beat Greg somehow.
So, was it 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whatever, I had Greg Ogles on, and I was thinking that, he has been a guest on here. That was his 4th time on the show already. Mm-hmm. And now Fisher has tied for first place with Greg.
Unless you count the time where you read my email, I might be tied for 1st and a half. I don't know. We could count it as 4.1. Maybe?
Let's count it as 4.1. You have a slight advantage over Greg. How about that?
Yes.
So, you watch Greg pop in.
Yeah.
It's all fun. But hey, we're going to talk things over with Fisher here in a few minutes, but I have a story here that I wanted to share that I actually saved. I'm having all kinds of computer issues. So this one here is from Marty. He's up in Canada. He writes to me. This story happened back in 2015 after my family members and I moved into our new home in Canada. He didn't say where in Canada, but that's okay. I was in middle school at this time of the year. I was chilling on the couch in the game room on the 2nd floor of the house. It was in the dark because it was about 10 p.m. during the wintertime. I was watching crash course videos on the History Channel on my phone because I thought they were interesting at the time. And I was kind of obsessed with history during middle school, which is pretty cool. After a few videos, I felt a sensation that someone was watching me through one of the small windows beside the couch that was around a foot or a foot and a half above me. So if you can picture the couch and then the window was up there. I looked up at the window and saw a man's face. He had a wide toothy grin, and he was a bit see-through, but he had a slight pastel blue tint or outline to him and was kind of balding in some areas of his head. What stood out to me was his eyes, because his eyes looked really bloodshot and really red. His neck looked really damaged as well, like the neck looked like it had surgery done on it multiple times. and the next seemed a little off, a little crooked. I originally didn't process what I was looking at, but after the initial shock, I got off the couch and started to back away towards the door of the game room. His head slightly turned sideways, and he started to smile even more, to the point it looked like it went up to his ears, while still looking at me and starting to drift away from the house. Now imagine how creepy that would be. There was another window of a few feet away from the one above the couch. I could still see him drifting through the second window. He disappeared when I looked through the big window behind the couch. I ran back to my room after that and didn't tell my parents because I knew that they wouldn't believe me because the both of them got their degrees in STEM and didn't believe in the supernatural. Thank you, Marty. That would be kind of creepy.
It's disconcerting, to say the least.
Yeah. Watching videos. I don't know where at in Canada. I can only assume that it was, well, I'm assuming, but it could have been like in some open area where there's, woods behind them or something, and somehow this entity gets out there and decides it wants to watch. So crazy stuff. So thanks again, Marty. Appreciate you writing in. See, Eric Ogle is in the chat. Hey, Eric. So
interesting.
Yeah. So you have some very interesting news. You started your own show.
I did. I started my own show. So I've just kind of did like a little brief test or rundown just to kind of open things up. It's like 8 minutes long and looks about the same level of unprofessional as this. So at the moment, so we're getting there. We're gonna get there. I want
what?
Go for it.
It takes time to get it going and get used to, maybe sometimes just talking to yourself. So it's all good.
You'd think I'd feel a little bit better about it, considering like I'm so used to driving for like, I don't know, 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
I'm so used to like having my own conversation running in my head that would be easier to talk out loud during this. But I found like during those 8 minutes, I was like so bored just talking to myself. I was just like, I don't know. But still, gonna give it a shot anyways. So
yeah. So what are you going to be? I saw the video and everything, so I kind of know the answer to this. But what's your show going to be about?
All right, so basically everything paranormal, exactly like what we're doing now, man. I mean, I'm gonna chronicle everything that I've experienced, just so that people will have a background to review about me, just so that they know that when I'm saying something, I come from some kind of experience, so that'll be there. But after that, man, shoot, I just wanna dive into these subjects and talk about it. I have my own thoughts on things, and honestly, I'd really like having talks with other people about like just picking their brain about these subjects too, because I mean, sitting around and speculating and shooting the breeze is where it's at. I think that's fun, So that's what definitely. I ultimately want to do.
Kind of, again, kind of a safe place for people to come tell their stories and then kind of, dissect it, give your spin on it, and hopefully, help people who, and that's what, this show and so many others are about, to give people an outlet to not be judged and tell their story without worrying about people making fun of them or anything. And, people listening might have similar encounters, and I know you have a ton of encounters, so you could probably do at least a year's worth of shows just on that alone, and kind of dissecting that and have people talk about that with you and everything. But hey, that's what I mean. You could have like somebody from a MUFON or a ufologist or something, and talk about your experiences. I mean, that's just a thought that came to mind.
It's not a bad idea. I'm always open for it, hearing every kind of perspective. I mean, ultimately, I mean, for me, it's more about, just trying to help people. I mean, I felt like when all my stuff started going down, man, I I didn't have any help. I didn't have any support. For me, it was like trial by fire.
Hmm.
These things are going down. Yeah, there's stories to listen to and all that, but that's all it was just listening to stories. And eventually, you know, them, putting stuff into like the show, dropping little seeds, and stuff like that is what eventually made me like open my mind and try to, get back to like my roots in Christianity and
Hmm.
able to, come back to God. And then everything changes, in my life after that. It's when that timeline happens is when I start finding you guys.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And then of course, there's all the community that we have here in chat, and then plus among each other, and that really helped turn me around. So if
Yeah.
I can provide just a little bit of help for anybody that might be going through close to the same thing or whatever kind of similar stuff,
Hmm.
that's what makes it all worth it. So if I can help do that, that's what I want to do. So
Yeah.
that's where I stand on.
That's awesome. I haven't ever had experiences really. Actually, now that I think about it, after starting this show, I never really thought I had experiences, and then I'm thinking back, through things in my life, and like, you know what? Maybe I am a little bit, clairvoyant or something, because I've, several times throughout my life, and like, I saw that happening before it did, or I was able to, you know, kind of almost predict something that was going to happen. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting looking back on it, and now, having more paranormal experiences, which is kind of cool. Um, and again, sharing it with people, and hopefully something helps. And if not, it's it's really good entertainment. I love talking about this stuff, and I love hearing people talk about it too. So
Oh yeah, it's certainly interesting. I love a good mystery.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. So
but
so speaking of mystery, I dropped the link on here if anybody wants to join the conversation. We just kind of sitting around telling stories today. Feel free to drop in if you would like. If not, that's fine too. Um,
come on in,
so come
folks.
on in, have
Let's
fun.
talk.
The patio is open, and it's hotter than hell out here, but have fun. So you've kind of told a few of your stories
Yeah.
on here and other places. Do you have any other encounters that you would like to share with us?
Hmm. Well, sure. I mean, technically, I'm willing to share all of them with y'all. But
There you go.
I mean, if we want to be topical about, like, say, your last email, I mean, technically, I've had something like that happen. It wasn't nothing spectacular like that, but I mean, I'm able to relate a little bit. But
Yeah,
you want me to share a little bit of that?
let's go for it.
All right. So, one time when I had gotten off from work, it's back when I used to work night shifts and only on 8 hour shifts. I had lots of free time before I could fall asleep. I was on the back porch and I was sitting there writing because technically at that time I was writing a book. And I remember my grandfather was in the hospital. I don't remember exactly what for, but while I was sitting there writing, I'm like in the zone. I'm kind of hyper focused on what I'm doing. And I feel like a bit of a pressure change from behind me in the hallway because the chair I'm sitting at is right next to the door.
Hmm.
And I feel something kind of like lean kind of out, and I thought nothing of it. I was like, it's probably my mom coming to check on me or something. I don't know, because at that time, me and the wife were building our house, so we were living with my parents. So I thought nothing of it. It's like, okay, whatever. So I keep going back, and it kind of recedes. I'm like, okay, whatever. I keep on typing away, and then all of a sudden I feel it again. I'm like, oh, that's weird. Why on earth would she be checking on me again?
Hmm.
So I reach up sneakily and, pause my ear pod and just keep on typing. And it's like it's just hanging there. And finally, I just, didn't hear nothing from anybody like asking me a question. So I was like, all right, well, time to talk at it. I said, "Can I help you? Because you're really getting on my nerves right now." And all of a sudden, it felt like this thing just ran off. I don't know what it was. So
Wow.
topical.
Did you get any like tingling feelings, or just feeling that, something was watching you?
Just something was watching me. I mean, like I said, it felt like pressure change. I mean, that's always the way I usually describe it. You know, like how somebody's standing behind you and you can't see them, but you feel them being there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just one of those
Mm-hmm.
feelings.
Any temperature change or anything that you felt?
Cold. It was cold, but I didn't really
That
think nothing of it. I thought that was actually kind of nice. I like it cold, so
and that's a perfect sign that there's a spirit near you when the temperature
yeah.
changes and you get a little bit chilly.
So they say. I don't know.
Yeah. So
But yeah, no, I didn't see
yeah.
no blue spectral or anything like that. I mean, if I had to
Yeah.
experience that, whew, that
Yeah.
would be a little rough. That would be a little rough.
So, let me get your take on this experience that I had the other night.
Sure.
So we were, I think it was Thursday night into Friday. I think it was Blondes and Booze was on, and we were talking about I don't know if we were talking about dreams or some kind of demonic presence or something. And that night, around 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, Friday morning, I woke up. Well, actually, I believe I had a dream where something was trying to possess me that I thought. And I remember I couldn't really move. So I guess sleep paralysis was taken over and I was having trouble talking. Again, still, I think I was in my dream state then. Um, but I remember trying to say, and at first it came out muffled. Then I guess I got enough energy in me to finally yell, "In the name of Jesus Christ, leave me alone," or "get out," or whatever. And I asked my wife and my son if they heard me, and they said no. So I mean, it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and they were probably sound asleep anyway, so they might not have. And right when I woke up, and I know this for sure because I remember looking at my watch, so I was awake. After that, I felt extremely tingly, not really cold or anything, but just extremely tingly, and I felt like something was there watching me. For
Almost
some,
as if you were electrocuted earlier,
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
staticky. Yeah.
yeah, very staticky, very staticky.
Yep.
But for
Mm.
some reason, I don't know if sleep paralysis was still going on or whatever, but I did not turn my head and look around the room.
Mm.
So, and the next thing I know, it's 5 o'clock in the morning and I'm waking up. So, any idea what that?
Well, from my experience, I'm gonna say sounds about right. Sounds
Yeah.
about right. Um, every time I've ever had any kind of encounter, it always starts off with like sleep paralysis. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It seems to be their MO, at least when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
me. But I mean, every time I've ever felt anything from them, like, I mean, I don't know a good way to say that, but whenever you feel them, to me, it feels like electricity and
Yeah.
staticky, like kind of like I competent, or I always like relate it to I just got electrocuted, and that's what it feels like. Unless they're actively still touching me, then it feels like a tens unit. But if they just touched me,
Yeah.
it feels like I just been electrocuted, or like the worst arm fall asleep, leg fall asleep
Mm-hmm.
experience you've ever had. The amount of tingles.
Yeah.
So as far as that goes, I'm gonna say 100%, man. I mean, it seems like something was trying to interact with you, man. I mean, the hard thing is, and it took me a long time to be able to get to the point where I could call on the name of Jesus, because before I figured that out, I mean, I was helpless. I've done everything I thought I could do, to try and ward things away. Shoot, I've even attempted to astral project out of my own body and fight it in the spirit realm,
Oh
right?
wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and that didn't work very well. It basically laughed at me and punched me in the face, and I fell back into my body, and I started going in convulsions for God knows how long.
Oh no.
So, yeah, not something I'd recommend trying.
No.
But calling on the name of Jesus 100% works.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's hard to find the willpower sometimes to
Hmm.
physically do it, but if you keep your mind focused on that and you keep doing it in your mind, in your mind, and in your mind until you're able to physically do it, it will happen. But as far
And
as like trying to possess you, I'm not really sure, man. I mean, is that what your gut tells you?
see, I don't know. I mean, if it was in a dream, and maybe it did come through, and in my dream, and it was actually real, but I was still dreaming this, and it I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it could very well be, but right after I said Jesus Christ, I woke up immediately.
Hmm.
So maybe when I said that, whatever was happening, it just kind of woke me up and left. But it
Right.
still wasn't completely. It was away from my physical space, and it was just someplace else in the room, kind of watching me, like, why next time I'm gonna get you real good. Um,
Maybe.
but yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, luckily nothing happened, and this was after being at Ray County, and in the
Mhm.
in the morning, Friday morning, I kept thinking, my God, if I brought something back home, my wife is gonna kill me. So nothing has happened since then. So I really don't think anything was attached or anything
Right.
got me. So
Right.
um,
No, I would say that, I mean, just to me, it sounds like um maybe opening oneself up a little bit to have experiences could
mhm,
play, some kind of role, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the other, I mean, not to say anything negative about that. I mean, I mean, how many times have we been like, man, I sure would like to see this, or I'd sure like to see that, you know. I have to constantly
exactly,
remind people, be careful what you wish for, you know.
exactly,
So
exactly.
there's a small element of that. But I mean, the one thing that I would say that kind of like sticks out to me is the fear. Like, if you're sitting there worried, like, man, I sure hope something don't follow me home and come home with me. You, it kind of.
You're,
Go ahead.
I think what you were gonna say is that you're inviting it almost
Yeah,
because it's out there, it's in your mind, it's in it's out in the universe that
and not
giving them an idea.
necessarily, not necessarily inviting it per se, but more like, if it's sitting there watching you, and in a way that we can't see it, and it's like, oh, this guy's really worried if I mess with him right now. It's
Yeah,
more like, it's not like you're inviting it, but it's like, if I really want to mess with him, seems like now is a great time to do so, you
yeah,
know, and see
yeah.
what comes
And
out of it.
and when you're sleeping, you're extremely vulnerable. So
Exactly.
I mean, that could be it too. Um, you touched on something earlier about astro projecting.
Hmm.
Have you done much of that, or
Yes, I've done plenty. That's what all my CE5 stuff was.
yeah?
So, or at least I assume. I'm not somebody who knows about that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. I just know that, like, when I tried it, it worked pretty well for me. So I don't know why. I don't know the technical terms. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
claim to know anything about it. I just know that it
yeah.
worked and it changed my life for the worst. So, not a recommendation. But yeah, I mean, I've done it.
It can be pretty scary. I've never done it. I've heard about it. Um, I don't think it's something that I want to try. But yeah, it sounds pretty scary. And judging from the stories that you've shared, It is.
Certainly can be. I mean, you know, like I said, it's something, first of all, I don't recommend trying. But, one thing you got to realize, like, about that stuff is, I mean, essentially, like, when we do that, we're kind of just powerless.
Hmm.
You know, is there ways to fight things off in that form? I mean, I'm sure there is, but I'm, I don't really think that in that form by yourself, there's not a whole lot that you can actually accomplish unless what you're trying to accomplish against whatever lets it kind of happen. That's the
Hmm.
way I look at it because, like I said, when I left my body and I did the CE5 stuff, I talked to entities and beings, and I was like, I did it multiple times throughout that week, and I was like, am I really thinking this like actually happened, or is it just my imagination? And then the
Hmm.
last night, that thing is there at the end of my driveway, like, hey, you didn't come in and hang out with us tonight.
Yeah.
It's all of a sudden there. So
Yeah.
that gave me some confirmation if it was real or not. But once my life changed and I was not the person who I should have been and was still kind of like, I don't know, dabbling with stuff, I guess you could say, you know. And then I had one more event that really, upset me when once I moved back to Gunnersville. Like, my little one was born, okay?
Hmm.
And so she was sleeping in her crib. And if I've told this story to everybody before, I'm sorry, but it's relevant.
Yeah.
And, I woke up in sleep paralysis and I just felt, a sense of dread. Like I knew that there was something out in the dog trot that was coming into our bedroom. And my only thought was, oh no, the little one is in the crib and that's at the foot of the bed. It'll get to her before it gets to me.
Hmm.
But I couldn't move. I couldn't move. I mean, I was doing everything I knew to try to do, and I also called on the name of Jesus during that time, but the difference is I wasn't sincere. That that word or that phrase or meaning or whatever didn't really have as much power or meaning and sincerity to me as it does now.
Yeah.
I mean, you might as well say that there's some guy who's jokingly hails Odin when somebody gets done saying a prayer, trying to call in the name of Jesus. Like, come on, there's no, that's just not going to work out for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But, out of my last attempt of desperation was, wait, I can astral project. That'll, give me a chance to try and attack and do something. I can't just sit here and be powerless to stop whatever's coming here.
Hmm.
So I do that, and I rise up and I'm ready to like fight. Like I go charging at that door in my astral form. And all I see when I get out the door is just complete darkness. And then like the feeling of laughter and a hand with three fingers and a thumb that's gray in color smacks me right in the head. And I fall right back into my body. And then I'm in convulsions for God knows how long. I mean, I felt nothing but my entire body just being electrified and couldn't think, couldn't do nothing. It was just constant agony for however long it happened. I don't know.
Hmm.
It felt like eternity. But, you know, I say that to say, you know, how much power do we think we have when we try such a thing? You know, because, I mean, that was proof to me that I have no power without, the assistance of God. Once
Yeah.
that changed in my life, well, then all of a sudden I had victory. These things would come against me and I would prevail, and I haven't had much trouble since.
Hmm.
But, you know, hey, if some people are, you know, of a different persuasion and they feel like they have the ability to do stuff, cool. More power to you. I mean, I'm not here to judge you. Love you no matter what. I'm just telling you, my own experience from it. So
So one
maybe that
one
was a
thing that
roundabout way.
one
I'm
thing that I
sorry.
wanted to ask you about astro projecting.
Okay.
is, I mean, you said that you were paralyzed on your bed there,
Hmm.
but you could feel yourself through your, would you say your astro form or whatever it was, going through the door. What
Hmm.
is that? What does that feel like? What does it look like for those of us who have
Um,
never done that?
huh. Feel like, um, I don't know. I guess in my experience, it was like lighter than air is a good way to describe it. Like I felt like it was able to be extremely fast. Um, but outside of that, uh, I don't know. I mean, really, the only feeling that I truly remember out of it is being like weightless and energetic, if that makes sense. I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I'm not one to talk to about these kind of things. You know, I don't know or have not studied near enough about that kind of stuff, and I kind of don't care to at the anymore,
Yeah.
truthfully.
Yeah.
So I,
That's
I'm not the
interesting.
right person.
I would really like to maybe not do astro projecting, but I would like to learn what, how to do it, why people want to do it, um, what it feels like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could see that.
benefits for it. Yeah.
I
So,
don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, for from what I understand, like typically it takes like years of uh, practice and meditation to be able to accomplish a whole lot.
yeah.
I I don't know. I just only understand that for me it was easy, and I don't have a reason why. You know, I really don't know how to answer that for you.
Where did you learn
But
how to do it?
I learned how to do it from listening to channels from Stephen Greer.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, you know, and like I said, folks, not to be trusted. Don't, don't. Please, for the love of God, don't do it.
Yeah.
Please. But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's probably better ways to go about figuring that out if you're
Yeah.
really interested in it. So,
And honestly, I wouldn't even know where to start. Maybe, we've had Sir Brian Bowden on once on this show, and he's been on several others. I mean, he might be one to contact
yeah,
about that.
maybe.
Um, I got somebody coming on. I can't remember, not next week, but maybe the following week. His name is Rocco, and he was on
Oh, okay.
Tom Franklin's
Yeah.
channel a couple weeks ago. And I mean, dude, he's got some interesting stories to tell. I don't
Yes,
know
he
if he
does.
astro projects or what that's all about, but I want to find out and see what the hell's going on with that. I mean, that sounds very, very interesting what all he's done and
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah. I've heard plenty of what he's got to say. He's my friend on Facebook. I think he's a really cool dude. That
yeah.
stuff, man, I don't know what to think about that stuff. It's interesting. Like the whole, I mean, there's that element, and then there's like 20 and back stuff, and it's like MK Ultra stuff. Oof.
Yeah. And so
I I
yeah,
don't know.
I mean, it'll be an interesting one to talk to
Yeah.
him and go check out Tom Franklin's channel, The Eye of Jupiter. He had him on. I want to say last
I think so.
Friday. Yeah, but go check that out if you're watching this, and some very interesting stuff. And I'm gonna have Rocco on here in a few weeks. Again, if anybody wants to come in, we're just kind of chatting today. If you guys have a story you want to share, I have the link in chat. Just click on that. That'll direct you to StreamYard, and then you can come on here and you can tell your stories. Hey, Krista.
Hi, Krista.
Hope everybody again is having a good day at work. One other time that again, my mind is going back through my life and thinking, okay, I know I've done this stuff before. One other time that I remember being paralyzed, I was, and there's the link. Thank you, Pam. She is one of the awesome moderators that we have.
Definitely.
Um, I remember one time I was living at a house in the city of St. Louis. I'm out in the county now. It was actually my grandparents' house. My mom grew up there. So it's a really old house. Um, and I'm sleeping, and I had two cats at the time. I had just gotten divorced. Um, I had two cats, and I was sleeping, and my room was situated right next to the basement steps. So you can, with the basement step, if the basement door was open, I could see the door open. And I remember laying in bed, and it was an older house, so it had the creaks and moans and stuff that old houses do.
Mhm.
And I remember hearing the door slowly open. You can hear the, and it opened all the way, and I kind of sat up. I didn't feel myself trying to sit up. I just sat up, real kind of slow. And my cats at the time both kind of shot up out of bed and like, nope. And they went into another room.
Gotta love
Nothing happened
cats.
after that. Yeah. Thanks for protecting me, guys.
Thanks for the food. Peace.
Yeah. I'll be under that bed over there. Let me know when this is finished, and then I'll be back. But yeah, after that, I don't remember seeing anything. I don't remember anything happening. So
Do you
and
remember falling asleep?
I don't remember going back to sleep. And this was, well, shoot, I've been married 20 years now. This had to have been 23 years ago. So yeah, I don't quite remember going back to bed or back to sleep. I just remember that happening, and and the cats abandoning me, and like, well, what was that? And again, not knowing if I was asleep or not at the time. Now that I look
Right.
back, I'm like, you know what? I think I was awake, because I remember vividly the door opening, me sitting up and not being able to move after that, and well, actually, me not wanting to really sit up, but I sat up anyway. So I don't know if something got a hold of me, but I don't remember feeling chilled or getting the tingles or the electricity going through me. So
Right.
I don't. So
Well, I mean, well, one, I would say for one, red flag that is that you remember the event, but you don't remember anything prior to sitting up. So there's a red flag.
right,
Uh, oof.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what was. Hmm.
And
You've, you've
that.
got all that stuff going on beforehand, like going through divorce and all that. So there's all that energy there, and all that negativity, and the
Mhm,
ability for if something wants to mess with you, now's a pretty good time. You're pretty,
exactly, exactly.
you're wounded, right?
hmm hmm
Uh, what was things like after that? Do you remember?
They were fine. I mean, I met my current wife shortly after that, and
Oh, that's good.
never been happier. So it's
Also good.
it's really just odd. And maybe something it was a positive thing that came in, and maybe it was helping me along, pushing the negativity out or something. So yeah, I don't
Coming
know.
from the basement and at a time where you're wounded, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if that makes you sleep better at night, then we can go with that. But I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
according to what you've told me just earlier on the stream, I mean, I'm kind of seeing a bit of a pattern there, my bud.
Yeah.
So I mean,
But that's only happened, twice twice that I can recall
right.
in almost 52 years. So yeah. So
I mean, that's good. That's
I don't
good.
know. Very interesting stuff. So maybe I'll many associates touring with LA Marzulli, where you at? Provide experiences and knowledge on astro projection. Okay, so there might be a place to start. So, and I know
There you
she's
go.
been on BMR's channel, I think. So I have to look
Oh
in.
yeah, the blonde lady. I
Yeah,
forget her
yeah,
name. Yeah,
yeah,
anything connected with LA. I mean, I definitely look into it.
yeah,
But I mean,
yeah.
I I know that his opinion is going to be pretty similar to mine. So I mean,
hmm Yeah. So we have
I'll
somebody just jumped in backstage. So we have Charles coming in. Hey, Charles, how
Hey
you doing?
guys, how you doing? I'm all right. Glad to be here.
Doing good.
I just found your message and finally found my way over here.
Awesome, awesome. Glad you did. And Fisher of Spam's here with me, kind of hanging out on the patio today. Yeah, so I know you have some stories that you wanted to share before, and things happened where I think you had to work that day. Got called in to
Yes.
work to make it on here. So, I mean, do you have anything that you would like to share?
Okay. Well, I mean, I do know where there's a family of 4 Bigfoots living in Franklin. The alpha male, his mate, and his 2 kids. They farm. He actually put up protection so that other entities can't use mind control like the Greys, which have showed up on the property before. And actually, the male's minds has actually done mind speaking before, like when the mother-in-law passed away. He popped in and was like, "Tell the rest of the family that we're sorry, that we'll watch the property while they're dealing with this." And I also found out some interesting stuff from the male Bigfoot. Apparently, the gray aliens used to actually enslave the Bigfoots using
Really?
mind control, and
Really?
that's why the Bigfoots really really hate the Greys.
Okay.
And of course, when the Greys started showing up on the Friends' property, as soon as the male Bigfoot, which we call Big Red because he's reddish colored, he was not very happy, and between 2 avatars of my friend and his son, and my avatar and the Bigfoots, we've destroyed about probably around 80 Greys that showed up there and everything.
Nice.
The my guardians, the last time the Greys showed up, which you would have thought after already losing so many, they would have stayed away, but they came back to the Friends' property and was getting close to the house, and all my guardians sort of hurried them into one little area, and then Big Red and his family and me and my guardians, we destroyed about 30 of them because they didn't have good intentions.
Here's a question for you. Have you ever
Yeah.
heard of Stardust Ranch?
No, I have not heard of that one.
Okay. Cliff Notes, I guess it's out in Las Vegas, if I believe correctly, remembering. Anyways, that guy had bought a property and it was like constantly being attacked by the Greys, and eventually he came into possession by a really interesting course of events where he got an old samurai sword that fell off of a truck to a museum. And he had learned that shooting them and stuff like that would work in killing them, but they would always come back as the same entity, if that makes sense. He found that, in his experience anyways, that unless you were able to cut off their head before they were dragged back into their dimensional portal, for lack of a better terms, that they would end up coming back. So,
well, these entities, they won't be coming back because in my guardians, little avatar, and there wasn't much left to reassemble.
okay. Well,
Wow.
that's good. That's good.
So I just did a quick Google search on Stardust Ranch, and there's one in Ely, Nevada, and there's also
Nevada.
one in Arizona.
Hmm.
But the one in Arizona is a horse boarding stable. I don't think that's it. In Buckeye, Arizona.
I don't think that's it.
No,
Either
so
way, the guy that did that, like, he wrote a book, and man, it's interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. Anybody that hasn't checked that stuff out, man, seriously look into it. It's very fascinating.
But yeah, like I said, the last time they showed up, Big Red and his whole family showed up, and there was probably at least 30 of my guardians there, and then I was in my little avatar was a hybrid dragon form, which the way I first met the Greys, I sent out my feelers just checking on my friend's property, and I sensed them there, and I showed up, and they mistook me for one of the Draco reptilians at first.
Wow.
And then when they realized I was not one of the reptilian buddies, they made the mistake of trying to attack my avatar, and he killed 6 of them by totally dismembering them into little bitty chunks and everything.
Wow.
Okay.
So when did this happen?
Well, this was back last year when they first started showing up, because yeah, a friend, the Bigfoots had been there for a while, but the Greys only showed up last year, and there's a lot of caves and stuff out there for them to hide in. Actually, one time, Big Red and me actually chased a bunch of the survivors back to a cave, and one of my guardian dragons actually sat outside the cave for like 2 weeks waiting on them to come back out. So they either portaled out or they found them another way out, because they didn't come out that entrance. Because the dragon was sitting there.
What state are you in? Are you in Kentucky?
I'm in Kentucky.
Okay. As we know, they have a ton of caves down there.
Yeah, they got a lot of.
Oh yeah, literally, you could probably go from one end of the state to the other totally underground with all the caves and stuff.
And what a great place to hide. And I'm sure most of those cave systems down there haven't been explored or discovered. So I mean, what a great place for Greys or Bigfoot or anything to hide down there. And
yeah, well, see, they don't even know officially really how big Mammoth Cave is, because they haven't explored all of it yet.
Yeah,
they've only explored maybe 300 and some meters worth of cave, and there's more to explore. So they don't know. And back, I think it was in either the late 70s or early 80s, Lost River that's in Mammoth Cave comes in, goes a little ways, disappears. They put special dyes in and everything and looked at all aquifers around there, and the dye never did reappear. They don't know where it goes to after it exits the cave. That's why they call it the Lost River.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Hollow Earth people claim that Mammoth Cave is actually one of the entrances to the Hollow Earth. And everything. So, and they do have what they call a bottomless pit. I think I forget how many thousands of feet of stuff they lowered down into the bottomless pit, and they still didn't reach the bottom.
Wow.
And everything. So I mean, it could be.
Yeah.
But and of course, also back years ago, they supposedly found some huge red-haired mummies in Mammoth Cave, and then when the Smithsonian came in, they disappeared and never found again.
Charles, your internet's kind of breaking up a little bit. We couldn't quite hear the last part of that.
I said they found like 6 or 7 huge red-haired mummies in Mammoth Cave, and then when the Smithsonian came in, suddenly they mysteriously disappeared.
Really?
Yeah, and nobody know. The Smithsonian claims they don't have them. They don't know what happened to them, but they mysteriously disappeared after the Smithsonian come in. But of course, here a few years ago, the Smithsonian actually admitted that they destroyed some huge, giant skeletons that didn't fit in their little neat picture of history.
Right.
Because they didn't want the proof around.
They conveniently got lost.
Oh yeah, anytime anytime any government entity gets involved, things mysteriously disappear and you never find them again.
Yeah.
And everything. I mean, even in Kentucky here, we have one of the largest prehistory cemeteries in Augusta, Kentucky, and supposedly they found like seven or eight giant skeletons there, but there's like thousands and thousands of graves in this burial ground.
Wow.
Augusta, Kentucky, and of course down in eastern Kentucky, where I'm originally from, there's so much wilderness; it's anything could hide there and everything.
Yeah.
But that's my encounters with the Bigfoots was mainly the four Bigfoots on the friend's property, and they sort of adopted me as extended family since my friend thinks highly of me, and since we've actually fought the Greys together. So now they're friends with me.
Have you do you live close to the LBL?
Actually, that's probably about 3 or 4 hours away. Right now, I'm living in Midway, Kentucky, which is just about 10 miles or so outside Frankfort.
Okay. Okay.
But I've been by the LBL. I've just never been down in there.
Okay. All right.
Even though I'd love to go down in there and do some researching.
Yeah. Any kind of ghost stories that you might have that you'd want to share or anything? Encounters?
Well, when I lived in Versailles with a friend, he told me that the place they lived in had a few ghosts, and I could sense them, but they wouldn't never show themselves to me until one night I was laying in bed and I was just extremely exhausted, and suddenly I see like 4 or 5 orbs pop in, and I could sense they were the ones that was haunting the place. I was like, I appreciate y'all finally showing yourself to me, but I'm too tired and I gotta go to sleep. So good night. And that's that I dealt with them there, but then back in eastern Kentucky on what used to be the Dang Parkway, but now it's the Hal Rogers Parkway. One night, me and my girlfriend at the time was coming back from Somerset to my house there in Floyd County, and we got on this one little straight stretch, and the headlights hit this guy that was standing right on the white line of the edge of the road, and we kindly moved over to get past him, and then when we looked back at the taillights, he wasn't there. And then like 2 days later, we came through there, and right where we'd seen this person beside the road was actually someone had erected a cross where apparently someone had died right there, and apparently he still haunts the area.
You know, I was watching a TV show about that. Maybe not that encounter, but you know, something. You know, somebody was killed on a car wreck or something on the side of the road, and years later, a truck driver is driving down that same stretch of highway, and here's this ghostly image of a person kind of standing on the side of the road, just kind of looking around like, I died here. What's going on? Or I was here. What's going on? So, perhaps the energy after someone was killed there, perhaps their energy is still there.
Yeah, but I'd been by that place several times after that, different times. Never did encounter it again. I think it was just wanting someone to acknowledge that it was there, and someone had come and put up a cross from the time that we passed it, where there was no cross beside the road. But someone had put up a cross before we came back through, and so I think the spirit finally was at rest because someone acknowledged that they had died there.
So you see this clearing right behind me here? There's a little clearing right there.
Yeah.
One Sunday morning about 8:30 or so, maybe 9 o'clock, I was at work. My wife texted me that there was a big accident right down here Apparently, it was a motorcycle against a minivan, and
Ooh.
it sounded like the motorcycle guy did not survive this. But I kind of often wonder that if there's residual energy over there.
Well, I mean, if I was down there, I could probably tell you if it was, because I'm pretty good at detecting energy signatures and stuff.
Yeah.
I also had three entities that showed up at another place I was staying, and of course this was a China. Originally, they were from China, but this Chinese family was very much aware of spirits and everything. And actually, they had some the wife had some charms sent from a Buddhist temple in China to hang up to ward off spirits. But for some reason, they still managed to show up there. And of course, me and the wife was talking one night, and her husband started making fun of us about, ooh, the boogeyman, the boogeyman. And I just told him, I said, fine, next time one of them shows up, I'm going to tell him to come talk to you. He got a look of terror on his face and made his youngest son, or next to his youngest son, who was sleeping in the parents' room, made him go to bed. He wouldn't go to bed by himself.
I don't blame him.
And he didn't. He didn't make fun of us anymore. Once I told him, I said, yeah, next time one of them shows up, I'll just tell it come talk to you instead. And
she tell it to hop around first.
But eventually, I ended up. I just told them, because they were starting to put out a negative vibe, and I was like, okay, you just need to leave. And they didn't listen, so I ended up. I made sure they left, because I can use energy to create offensive or defensive, either way. And so I just basically pretty much obliterated two of them. The third one, it went away for a while, but came back. And I said, "No, I told you to leave. I'm not asking you again." It didn't leave, so I finally obliterated the third one and everything.
Wow.
And of course, when I finally started remembering going on the Astral, because for the longest time I couldn't remember I was going on the Astral. I'd do it while I was asleep. But then I started remembering, and I actually run into a few entities on the Astral. And when they recognize me, they're like, no, I don't think I want to mess with you. I remember you from past lives.
Right.
And that was both good and bad entities. So, because apparently there was a few lives that I was bad.
So you mentioned astral projection, and we were kind of talking about that before you came on. How long have you been doing that?
Well, apparently, ever since I was born, I've been astral, but I didn't really remember any of it. Because one time I'd asked a psychic friend of mine, I'm like, I don't know why I stay so tired all the time. I'm getting plenty of sleep and everything else. He looked at me and he's like, well, maybe if you'd stay off the astral plane fighting bad entities, you wouldn't be so tired. I'm like, do what? He's like, don't you remember being on the astral? I was like, no. And then later on, I finally got where I would start remembering some of these battles on the astral plane and stuff. But it seems I was born with some natural gifts, and of course, my mom, after she passed, she came through a medium friend of mine to talk to me, and I finally asked her the question I always wanted to ask her but never had. I said, "Did you tell us we were hereditary?"
Really?
Because we were hereditary witches. And she's like, well, right before you were born, I quit being I quit practicing because I didn't want you to feel like you were obligated to follow that path. And I just told Mom, I said, well, look where I'm at anyway, Mom. I was always meant to be here. Because even when I was a teenager, which I know she knew that I had gifts, because I'd always tell her when it was getting close to Halloween, I was like, I really want to find some druids and celebrate Halloween with them. And years later, when I started remembering some past lives, it's no wonder I want to go celebrate with the Druids, because at least in 2 different lifetimes I was a Druid.
Really?
Interesting.
Yep. And of course, there was 3 of us that were brothers in one lifetime, and another brother and me got killed. The third one survived, got killed by the Romans.
And this was
And
okay.
yeah, this was back when the Romans were invading Scotland and stuff.
I was going to ask if this was a past life, but then you said Romans.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, that's a dumb question. So
Yeah. And of course, I also I got healing gift. I can actually sometimes heal people, or at least alleviate a lot of their pains and aches and stuff. Like one time at one festival, me and one of my girlfriends at the time worked on this lady because she was really in real bad pain. Didn't find out till later, when after the festival was over, this lady had called the owner of the festival and wanted to know if we'd be back the next year. And she's like, yeah, they probably will. Why do you need to know? She's like, well, I have MS, and after they worked on me, that's the best I'd felt in 20 years. So we couldn't eliminate the MS, but we made her feel better than she'd felt in 20 years with it and everything. Which actually also surprised.
That's pretty amazing. You know, my mom had MS.
Yeah, and
my mom had MS, and it was a battle for that. Yeah, to get her to feel comfortable at least, and I know how that would be.
Yeah, like I said, that woman had specifically called up the owner of the festival and wanted to know if we was going to be back, because she wanted to come back and have us work on her some more, because she was like, that's the best I've felt in 20 years. And that made us feel good that we'd been able to help her a little bit.
Yeah.
And everything. And then there was a lady that had a herbal shop. She came to the festival, and she was in real severe pain, had a sprained ankle, and it'd been that way for about 2 months and wasn't getting any better. And she said, I've been to doctors, I've been to chiropractors, nobody can help me. And I said, you want me to try to do something? She's like, well, if you think you'll help, try it. Worked on her for 15 minutes. She had full range of motion back and was no longer in pain. And she was amazed. She's like, here I've been going to all these doctors and chiropractors for 2 months, and said, you worked on my ankle for 15 minutes, and now I have full range of motion in it, and it's not hurting anymore.
That's amazing how that happens, isn't it?
Of course, the real interesting thing is most healers can't work on themselves. Yeah. Because it's only a short term solution at best if they do get any relief at all. So they usually have to have another healer work on them. Which one time Reiki master had done some work on me, and as a favor, I did some work on her. And then she looked at me real strange, and she was like, now that's not a combination. I said, what are you talking about? She's like, the type of healing you do is part shamanic and part Reiki. And she said those two usually don't coincide together.
Yeah. Wow.
And everything. And I've seen, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 UFOs over the years. Really? One of them up in Lexington. I went in, and me and one of my coworkers got talking. He'd been in the Air Force back in the day, and he was telling me, he was like, yeah, he's like, at one point I was stationed at Goddard's Air Force Base, and he said they suddenly scrambled all the jets and sent them off. And then the jets came back, he said, but what was really strange, suddenly before the jets got back, 2 black helicopters landed and was waiting at the end of the tarmac for the pilots. When the pilots got out of their planes and was walking back along the tarmac, they just pointed to the helicopters. And he said, then our base commander just tried to tell us it was an exercise that they were doing. And he said years later, he said, I found this book about UFOs, and he said, I bought it and I was reading it. And right in there at the time I was at Goddard's Air Force Base, right nearby, there was UFOs spotted. So the government had told the base commander to lie about what was going on. But he said, we knew something was up when the black helicopters landed and people in dark suits and glasses got out and was just standing there. And as soon as the pilots come walking up, they just pointed to the helicopters and flew them out. And then after he got through telling me that, we walked outside and we were still talking, and we got looking up in the sky. And finally, after about probably 5 to 10 minutes of silence, he finally asked me, he said, are you seeing what I'm seeing up in the sky? I'm like, yeah, something moving, not like a satellite or a star or anything like that. And we were both looking at the same thing. This UFO was going up and down and suddenly stopped and then moved back and forth. And it just kept doing that over and over and over. And so that's the first one I ever saw. And then down in eastern Kentucky, in a little town called Combs, which is one of the little subdivisions of Hazard. One night I came out and was looking up at the sky, and me and my roommate, and we looked down in the southwest sky, and we saw what first we thought was something orange coming, and then as it got closer, we could see it was red, and it was coming from the southwest. And I thought I was looking at two of the planets, because one of them was Venus, and I said, well, the other one must be Jupiter, because they wasn't flashing like a star would.
Yeah.
Well, when this thing got closer, all of a sudden one of the planets suddenly shot off to the southeast away from it, and then started flashing every color of the rainbow. And this other thing just kept going right on across the sky. And I reported it to the Kentucky MUFON representative, and he's like, oh, you're not the first one we've got a report from. And I checked, and that was the last shuttle mission. It wasn't the shuttle that was the red thing, and it wasn't the ISS. Right. And then, of course, like I said, the other thing that we thought was a planet sitting there, when this thing got closer, it shot away from it as fast as it could, and then sat there and flashed all the different colors of the rainbow. And so that was 2 more UFOs I saw. And then about a month later, I was there at the same place, and I walked out, and I was looking up in the sky, and I thought I saw what was Venus and Jupiter again.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there looking up at them, and one of the neighbors is sitting out on his stoop, and he says something to me, and I look over and I start talking to him. I look up, one of them's totally disappeared, nowhere in the sky. So that was the 4th UFO I've seen. And then, of course, I've had the run-ins with the Grays at the friend's property now.
Yeah. Wow.
Do you happen to remember the time of year that these incidents took place at?
I think one was in May and the other one was in June.
All right, that tracks for me.
Because it was about a month apart when I saw the fourth one up there that mysteriously disappeared when I looked away and was talking to the neighbor and looked back up, and then there was only one planet in the sky. But and then the other one, the first one, that happened. It was, I guess, probably maybe August or September of that year, which would have been I think that was like 91 or something when I first saw the first one and everything. And of course, I've also had dealings with the Fae. Matter of fact, there's a group of Fae that we nicknamed the Travelers. And of course, they were mildly upset when we told them that we knew they were Fae because they didn't like people knowing they were Fae. But they sort of watch out for me because in a previous lifetime I was actually a member of them in one of the previous lifetimes and everything. So now they look out for me in this lifetime. And actually, the second brother killed during the Roman invasion, he became a member of them because back in 2012, when the Travelers showed up, he showed up with them.
Wow, that's pretty
And
interesting.
everything. Yeah,
So
and
what's
here's
the,
what really do what?
I said, so then
What was that?
in your approximation, what would be the lifespan of a Fae? Just curiosity, if you know this.
Well, they wouldn't actually tell us, but it's like hundreds of years
Okay.
and everything. But yeah,
Sorry,
they
I
were,
was just curious, man.
but they were mildly perturbed when we mentioned about them being Fae. They're like, "Hey, you know we're Fae. You're not supposed to know that." And then, of course, eventually they told us, "So, well, of course you would know it because you used to be with us at one point." And here's what's interesting about them. You know how most negative things will put off a cold feel
Yeah.
when they're around. Well, they're not really good or bad. They're more, but they will, if they surround you, they will absolutely freeze you to death. You just get cold. It don't matter how hot it is out. They're like your own personal air conditioner when they surround you. But they only surround you when they think there's a real bad danger, and then they're there to protect you and everything. Which last time I saw any of them was back in 2020, right before before COVID hit. They suddenly popped up at a festival I was at, surrounded me. I was like, okay, what's going on? They're like, well, somebody sent something for your group that you're in. I was like, oh, really? And then I put out my feelers and I started seeing all these guardians headed for something. And of course, my guardians still hadn't moved for they waited like 5 minutes after. And then finally, my real nasty one that I keep locked up because it's not very sociable. I keep it locked down. It left like 10 minutes after the rest of them, and it still beat all the other guardians to where they were going to meet this thing. And there must have been, because there was different people sent guardians, there must have been like 300 guardians there. And of course, my what I call my little inner beast had beat them all there and was standing there in this clearing, just stomping and roaring when this thing showed up. And by this time, even my high priest and priestess and one of our other members showed up. Their guardians showed up. It's like, well, I don't think we're needed, so they just left. But the remaining ones, they just laid down and was going to watch the show.
Right.
And fortunately for this thing, it decided that it did not want to play because it took one look at my little inner beast sitting there roaring and pawing the ground, getting ready to charge, and it saw all the other guardians just laying around watching. And it's going, now wait a minute, is there something I don't know? Is this thing so bad it's gonna they don't need to get involved? And even if by some miracle I managed to destroy this little thing that's roaring and pawing the ground, I've still got the other 300 to worry about.
No kidding.
So it decided at that point, it went back to whoever sent it and was probably told them, don't ever send me after this group again.
Yeah.
And everything. But yeah, I have a warrior. I have several dragons, several wolves, several big cats as personal guardians and everything. So I'm well protected.
It sounds like it. And it sounds like you have some incredible encounters and stories and stuff. So
Yeah, and I
we
fought a
gotta.
couple of demons too. That
Ooh,
wasn't fun.
that's no good. No, no, I
Never
can't
is.
imagine that. No.
One of them came after a mutual friend of mine, and several other people. And this poor girl, she could raise a shield for maybe like 5 seconds before it would drop again. And this thing was coming after her. And so several of us banded together and was keeping it at bay. And then it decided it was going to try to attack each one of us individually, see if there was any weak links. Which, after it came after me, at that time, I still wasn't that powerful. And the one little guardian I did have, he was doing everything he could to try to stop it, and it was still advancing. And then suddenly, when it stopped, got a look of terror on its face. And I told my guardian, I said, turn around and see what's coming behind you, because something behind you scaring the heck out of it. And when he turned around, I saw my mom and my grandfather coming to help. And it was like, nope, I'm out here. Don't want to deal with them too.
Don't
And
want to mess with grandma. That's nice.
well, it was my mom and my grandpa.
Grandpa, okay.
But yeah, they were already passed away and in spirit form. So it was like, no, I'm leaving now. Bye. It never did show back up after that. But at first, we thought it was the girl's boyfriend doing something and had done something. So I actually went one night, and normally I won't do this, but I was like, okay, it's time to find some information and see if this guy's responsible. I obliterated his shields twice. Put him down with migraine for 3 days because of where I smashed his shields. But once I got in there and got looking around, he didn't have anything to do with it. And then he came over to visit, and he was the final piece of the puzzle, because when he came over to try to see her, at first we just told him to go away, that she didn't want to see him. He's like, please, I need to talk to her. And so she finally agreed. So we let him in, and he looked at me. He's like, man, he's like, I've had migraine for 3 days. I'm like, well, next time you need to have fluid shields instead of rigid shields. Fluid shields are hard to rigid shield you can smash, hit blast with a hammer.
Yeah.
And I said, now tell me what the hell. And I told him, I said, now tell me what the hell is going on. And I said, because obviously you didn't have anything to do with it, but I have a feeling you have information. And come to find out, when he was at the University of Cincinnati, there was a black dark coven that tried to recruit him. Of course, he turned them down. Mm-hmm. And then he left the University of Cincinnati, and they sent this creature after him to try to find him. And he managed to find the girlfriend, because it sensed his energy around her. And the way they found his girlfriend was, it turned out her roommate was trying to show off like she was all powerful and stuff, and was summoning these little shadow creatures. And then she'd make them go away, and then she'd be like, see how powerful I am? I can make these things go away. Well, of course, if you summoned them, you can make them go away rather easily by telling them to go away.
Yeah.
So after we found that, pretty much she only stayed a roommate about another month before she left. But where she was summoning these shadow creatures in, this entity caught this and come to investigate, and then found his energy signature on the girlfriend. So it was trying to go after the girlfriend to lure him out. But then when it ran into what basically eventually ended up being 6 of us, because the 7th person was the roommate that was helping protect her. And we just told her, we don't need your help anymore. So there were still 6 of us. Once it realized, even individually, I can't defeat these people. So I'm just going to have to go back and tell them I can do nothing. And so it left. And then second demon encounter, demon showed up this was like probably 3 or 4 years after my mom passed away, showed up as my mom. And we were on some farm, don't know where it was at, but somehow we owned this farm. And I walked into the barn and there was my mom. I was like, what are you doing here? And she's like, oh, I got permission to come see you. Where's your dad? I said, oh, he's out so and so place. She's like, we'll go get him and come back. So I went and got him, and then we were talking to this entity, thinking it was my mother at first. And then she started saying, well, I can't stay for very long, but you all can go with me. And then I finally noticed one little thing. She didn't have her wedding band on.
Really?
And so I asked, I said, where's your wedding band at, Mom? And then the whole demeanor changed. Like, well, now that's a rude question to be asking.
Yeah.
And I just told her, I said, you're not my mother. I don't know what you are, but you're not. And of course, it started trying to transform. And even though I'm pagan, the only thing I could think of, I just told her, I said, in the name of Jesus, go. You're banished. Go. And all of a sudden, the portal opened up under it as it's still trying to transform into this demon and sucked it away.
Wow, Charles, that's pretty incredible, and I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna have to kind of wrap it up. We're coming up to the hour and a half mark. So.
Yeah, I'm glad I got on here enough to talk to y'all.
Coming on, yeah, I appreciate you coming on. You had a ton of experience, and it was great hearing those stories. Thank you so much for sharing that.
But yeah, there's one place back home that actually still freaks me out. It looks like it's made of stone. It don't look like a grave, but for some reason it's up on the hillside, and I have no idea why it's there. But I always get a strange feel if I'm ever around it.
Wow.
And everything. But I've never actually sensed an entity or anything. But it's about the size of a grave. Got stone all the way around it, and it's plumb up on the hillside. And there's nothing else around there. The closest cemetery is probably half a mile away.
Yeah,
and everything. And that's one of our family cemeteries and everything. But yeah, down in Eastern Kentucky, when you're in the woods, you sense things are watching you, and it's not just the normal wildlife watching you.
Yeah.
And everybody would always ask me why I would take a gun or another weapon into the woods. I'm like, well, never know what you're going to run into up there.
Yeah, exactly. Always be protected.
And of course, another thing you had to worry about was wandering into someone's crop plot that they had up in the hills.
Yeah,
which is never a good thing.
No, it's not. So, well, Charles, we're gonna have to kind of cut it off here. So, I appreciate you coming in, and
thank you, Charles.
Yeah. Always, feel free to come back on another Tuesday if you have more stories to share with us. So, we'll do this open mic on pretty much any Tuesday. So,
like I said, I hadn't heard from you, and then I got thinking. I was like, wait a minute, this is Tuesday, and I haven't heard from him. And then I come across your message. I was like, okay, how do I get in here now?
Yeah. So. All right.
But yeah, I know you wanted to talk about the Bigfoots and UFOs, so that's what we started with.
Yeah. We can hit that on another Tuesday. So.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Have a good day.
Yeah. All right, you too, buddy.
See you later.
All right, thank you. That was Charles, everybody. Great talking with him. Put him backstage. A lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff there. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody coming on here. Fisher, thanks for co-hosting. And you are more than welcome here anytime, my friend.
Well, thank you for the invite, man. Whenever I have free time, I'm always able.
And we've talked about your show, but we didn't talk about when you're going to have it on. When you planning on being on?
So far it's looking like Saturday around 8:30 is what I'm planning on.
8:30. Awesome.
Make sure that doesn't impede on any of my friends' time. But I
All right.
think we should be able to make that work.
I will be sure to be off by 8:30, and I will throw it out to you. So,
Well, if anything, man, there's always a replay. I am not worried about it. It
No,
exists for a reason.
yeah, we take care of each other, and I'll promote you guys as much as we can. So make sure Saturday nights 8:30 following Paranormal Among Us, you jump on over to Fisher's channel and check him out. So, all right, guys, no problem, buddy. So everybody have a great rest of the week. We will see you Saturday night. Thank you all for joining us. And as soon as I find the out, we will get out of here. There it is.
Bye,
See you
y'all.
guys. Have a good day. Well, that didn't last long. There we go.